Hello, my beautiful collective. Welcome to the second episode of the Healing Podcast with uGogo Mphemba. Guys, today I'm a lot more comfortable. I'm feeling like unongceba lo engimaziyo. Thank you so much for the reception that I received. Episode 1 of this podcast. My focus was to share istories kamakulu with dignity, right? And even though I was uncomfortable, right? Even though I was out of my comfort zone, because like I said, guys, I'm not used to having my full afro out, nothing, edges not done. Like, no, that's not me, right? But the focus was not on me. And to see you guys receive istorisake with dignity, or the dignity that vele was intended to be shared with, it really, really is amazing. And I just want to express my gratitude to you guys. And thank you so much for the kind words of encouragement as well. You guys are just amazing. Ngiyabonga. So we are here, episode 2. Okay, so now we're going to start delving deeper into your makeup as a human being. Umakhulu is very big on identity, understanding who you are, where you come from, how you come to be, right? So that your life journey makes a lot more sense. Because remember in episode 1, she shared with you guys, Uguti, she was a victim of spiritual bullying through ubutagati, right? Black magic sent her way. But because there was a lot that she didn't understand with regards to her spirituality, she didn't even understand her gift. Uti, why am I able to see a little bit more than people do? She failed to understand just that. So you can only imagine the amount of knowledge that she didn't come to esaphila emhlabeni, right? Knowledge ebizomnceda ukuthi akwazi ukusiza, akwazi ukuziphilisa. Okay, so okay, now that she is a high vibrational guiding ancestor, she wants to share that information with you who are going through a similar experience, right? You are a young person, and especially kule day and age where spirituality has just been misconstrued, right? Sitshelwa zonke izinto ezingekho that draw us further and further away from understanding spirituality sethu and the power that we possess as spiritual beings, right? Because people who want to take advantage of that power, of the strength, right, of the wisdom, right, that we possess, they want us to believe a false narrative about ourselves, right? Ukuthi we are victims yobuthakathi babo, and there's nothing that we can do but just succumb to ubuthakathi babo, which could not be further from the truth. So, okay, umakhulu, starting from today, episode 2 is going to put you guys as Tombini. She wants you to see not just the bigger picture, but the real picture of who you truly are and the power that you possess. And for us to get there, we have to get you to understand how you, as a human being, come to be. I'm not wearing my glasses today, guys, because the ring light yami iya reflects la ebukweni, so aningiboni kahle. Fanele ngibone kahle. Okay. So, how do you come to be as a human being? Okay. So you are a human being, meaning that you are a person who is made up of light. Okay, masithi you giving off a hue, right? Or maskuluma hue yendo, right? We are talking about a specific color range. Now, ama colors, guys, we are able to see colors because they differ in frequency. Okay, so Makulu has always explained Guma TikTok videos, Uguti, if you want to understand your spirituality, you need to look at your physicality. You need to look at your physical environment. Light is energy. And so, okay, for us to understand how we as these light energy beings come to be, we need to look at what? We need to look at the source. Now, in our universe, right, the source of energy is the sun, ilanga. Okay, that is the source of energy. That is where all the astral bodies in the universe, an astral body is an object in the universe, into nje matter ehlangene, okay, to constitute a particular object. So the sun is the source of light energy in our solar system, right? Which we say is our universe, okay? And so astro bodies, kunama stars, kunama planets, there is the moon, etc. Okay, so the sun gives energy to all of those astral bodies, including Tina here on Earth. Okay, so when you now look at the universe and how it is arranged, or space, right, and how it is arranged, we see there is the sun, and then kunani gunama planets, and these planets are located at varying distances from the sun, which means that they receive energy from the sun at different levels or frequencies, depending on, or different intensities, right? Depending on how close they are or how far away they are from the sun. So typically when scientists try to explain the arrangement of the planets in relation to the sun, they show you guys a picture where everything is arranged in linear motion. But that's not reality, right? That's just to simplify the explanation for you guys. The planets are arranged all around the sun, right? But at varying distances, okay? So we know, for example, Mercury is the closest to the sun, and then we've got Venus, which is the second closest, and then we have Earth, okay? Now, each planet, right, with its location in relation to the distance from the sun, occupies a particular frequency, okay? And it is this frequency that now determines what does that particular planet look like. All right. So guys, in the spectrum of light, a spectrum says different varying frequencies, right, of light, because light ihamba ngama frequencies ahlukile. Frequency, the simplest way that I can explain it is intensity, how intense something is, okay? So, okay, light has a spectrum, okay? And Tina, here on Earth, right, we are part of what is called the visible spectrum, okay? So, okay, which means the range of frequencies, right, that is associated with planet Earth is one where the light is visible. In what form? In what form? How is this light visible? In color. Okay, so in science, when we take white light, just take a torch and shine it through a medium, a prism, a clear prism, right? Has to be clear because we want to see what happens with light. Light then disperses into different light bands, okay, into different light bands, different colors, right? Those light bands are giving different colors because they are of different frequencies, okay? So that is the visible spectrum, right? When light comes from the sun and it hits now the earth, the medium that is the earth, it then disperses into various frequencies, and we see these frequencies as color, okay, the different colors of the rainbow, okay. Now these bands of light that are different colors, right, they have micro frequencies within that band, okay, which determine the intensity of that light. So, okay, for example, let's take the yellow band, okay? You can get like a mustardish, darkish yellow right up to a bright, blinding yellow, okay? We get this difference because kunama frequencies kule band, okay, that differ. And so, okay, we call that band a hue. A hue. Okay, that band of color, because that color can come in different variations, but variations of the same color, still within the same category of, for example, yellow. So, okay, we say that is a hue. My son is back from school, guys, so nizomuzwa kwi-background enza umsindo. Angithi umakhulu uyani-explainela using the universe so that you understand how you come to be, right? So right now, she's trying to show you that in order to understand your spirituality and your makeup, you need to look at your physicality. So, okay, manje, let's focus on the earth, right? Which is us now, right? And we are now a part of this visible light spectrum. Kanjani. So, guys, the earth is not just earth when you hit the ground. Okay, the earth is surrounded by layers, right? Invisible layers that we don't see, which are called atmospheric layers. So the earth has an atmosphere. All right, so now this is the earth. And then the earth has layers around that are invisible to our naked eye, right? Those layers are still a part of the earth, okay? Because those layers, there's a lot that goes on energetically that govern many processes on earth, such as the weather, for example, such as the frequencies of light we receive here on earth, right? Because we don't just receive the visible band, right? The visible spectrum. We also receive other light frequencies, gamma rays, X-rays, and things, right? So, okay, our atmospheric layers are very important. UV rays, they're very important in governing Uguti. We don't receive too much of those rays because they can be damaging. The main focus is the visible spectrum, right? The visible spectrum of light that we receive here on Earth. So, Earth in Alama layers, right? We get the troposphere, which is where the weather happens. If you've ever taken a flight, when the flight ascends, right, it gets to a point where it looks like the clouds have formed a carpet beneath the plane. That is the layer where the weather occurs, and it's called the troposphere, if I'm not mistaken. Guys, so sometimes I may get the wording wrong, but I'll just put corrections in the video, okay? So that's where our weather happens, the troposphere. That's where we see the clouds and whatnot, and there's precipitation and things, okay? Aeroplane will pierce the troposphere, and I think you fly with stratosphere, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, which is now another atmospheric layer. So ayaqhubeka lama atmospheric layers of the earth. Okay, right up until we pierce the what? The gravitational barrier. Okay, the gravitational barrier is where when you enter the earth's atmosphere, you start feeling that pull towards the earth's core. Once you've pierced the boundary or the atmospheric layer where leo gravity lay. My neighbors though, akuhutwa kukwa next door, like hutwa khona angazi ukuthi bahuthelwa kangaka amafoni awasebenzi ukuthi ufone nje uthi mngani ngila. That atmospheric layer of earth, ne, where now there's a gravitational pull. So phumile ke manje. Environment of earth. Okay, so when this light from the sun, this white light, right, this abundant light comes and it pierces that first layer of the earth's atmosphere, that's when we now see what? That's when we now see the dispersion of light, right? And we see this light being arranged into its different hues, right? Into the different color bands, okay? And so that is the light energy that comes right through to the earth's surface, okay, that we receive. Right. Now, the earth has a core, a metal core, right in the center of it, right? And it is letting out an immense amount of energy. So this core, which is made up of mainly metals, releases a magnetic force. Okay, so from the earth's surface comes a magnetic field. Okay, very important. It's on a grand scale. That's why I say it's a gravitational pull, right? Because the gravity of it is extremely, extremely enormous. It's basically a magnetic pull on steroids. Okay, the energy from the sun has a lot of electrons. It's electrical energy. And the energy from the earth is magnetic energy. And so what happens is that there is an interaction, right? There comes points where these two different types of energies come into contact, interact, right, or cross over. And this is a very important phenomenon. But now, here's the thing. The sun is rotating on its axis. And everything that is revolving around the sun is also in motion of rotation and revolution, right? And so, as this electrical energy is coming through to the earth, piercing the earth's atmosphere, right? It is in rotation. Same goes for this enormous magnetic energy from the earth, this gravitational energy. It's also in rotation because the earth is also rotating, right, on its own axis. And so, the electrical energy from the sun pierces the earth's atmosphere, comes right through to earth. The magnetic energy from the earth radiates out right towards the atmosphere, and this electric energy and magnetic energy touch, they cross over. Okay, when they do, an electromagnetic force is created, but it's not just a force that is standing still. We say it is electromotive energy because it is moving. This in science is called electromagnetic induction. When you pass a magnet through a copper coil, copper inama electrons is one of the earth's best conductors. That's why you find a lot of spiritual people, they will wear copper bracelets, okay? Because they want to conduct that light energy from light beings. Okay, they want clear, concise communication with various light beings. Okay, so when you pass a magnet through a copper coil, the electrons in the copper coil are going to start moving. That is the electromotive force, right? And once lama electrons move, we say seguyi current. Okay, it's the movement of electrons that is now creating a current. Think of an ocean current. It moves. Okay. So that's why when we talk about wires, right, that have electrical energy flowing through them, we say the wire is live. Don't touch that wire. It's live. Okay. Because it has these electrons flowing. Now they're not in a state of stagnancy. They are in a state of flow. And that is the current. So this electromotive force that is generated by the electrical energy from the sun and the magnetic energy from the earth, right, is now what we call life force. It is life. It is the current, right, that gives rise to life here on earth. Okay, so we call it life force. Now you can imagine, guys, my illustrations here have just basically simplified it. This is happening on a grand scale. There are billions of these interactions generating this electromotive force, this life force. So life force is incredibly powerful, incredibly abundant. There's too much of it. Okay, and so it gives birth to life, right, in all its abundance. And remember, ukuthi injalo nje le electromotive force, right, it consists of the visible spectrum. Okay, so now all these different colors, we start to see them appear, right? We earthly experience yet. You see the trees, the different animals. You see us as humans. Humans are colorful. You are a human with all our different personalities and different and different characteristics and things, okay? You are a human. It is because of this light that now manifests in different forms according to the frequencies. According to the frequencies zakhona, okay? Plants, they have their own frequency band. Okay, animals have their own frequency band. Humans have their own frequency band. Okay, but because we are all part of the visible spectrum, right? And light is energy, and energy has to be in a state of flow. It flows, right? We're able to then interact with one another in our differing frequencies. Okay, so now that you understand, right, the light aspect of it, now let's look at how that translates to you now manifesting as a physical being on this plane of existence. Okay, so we go back to frequency. Everything is frequency, guys. Okay, that's why we also say everything on earth has an electromagnetic field, right? Because you live in this electromagnetic space that is generating all this life force. Okay, another point that Umakulu is telling me now to touch on, she is saying that for life to be there, for life to exist, there has to be a reciprocal energy from the earth. So she's saying she wants me to point that out so that you see that the reason why you have life is because of the union between God and you as a human being. She says God's light becomes live through us. That's why we see all this light, right? We need to be there for there to be life. So we are very, very important, okay, when it comes to God, because she's saying that she wants us to understand that we are a very integral extension of this God energy. Okay, so she wants you to know uhamba hamba la emhlabeni ukuthi you are an important integral extension of God. Know that. Okay, right. It all boils down to frequency. Lower frequencies tend to condensate. They tend to now become visible in the form of physical forms. And this happens as the frequencies differ, but mainly as the frequencies start to decrease, start to become lower and lower and lower. You then start to see things condense, and eventually come to physical form. So frequency allows us to have different phases of the same thing. Okay. She's saying, Makulu, this is important because it shows you guys that you as a physical human being, your deceased loved ones, and your ancestors and other light beings, right? You guys are still all the same because you all come from this one source of light. But now, depending on the different frequencies, you condense, and you come in now varying forms of the same energy profile. Okay, so let's take water. So where there's high frequency, high energy, there's heat, right? Heat is a huge telltale sign of energy, right? Okay, there's energy here, heat energy. So heat is a form of energy. So when you look at water, right? When water is in its gaseous state, right? When it's vapor, it's at a different frequency. It's in a condition where the frequency is only conducive for water to exist as vapor, right? The frequency of the environment changes, and then what happens to water vapor? It now condenses into water, liquid form now, because at this frequency, water can only exist as a liquid. See, now the condition has changed. And what is happening? The frequency is decreasing. It's going down, 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 right? We're moving from a state of heat to a state of cooling. Okay, we're moving from a state of increased energy to decreased energy. And so the conditions change once again. And now water is at a frequency where it can only exist as ice. Do you see? So our manifestation as humans follows a similar pattern from this light. Okay, so we have this light that comes down. We have this magnetic force that is going up. They meet and they generate this electromotive force, this life force. And now, depending on the different frequencies within these hues, right? The different frequencies that this electromotive force occupies, it then condenses and condenses and condenses. And as it condenses, it forms the different forms. When you look at a DNA strand and you just break it apart, it basically sums up what uMakhulu just explained with the electric energy and the magnetic energy coming together. DNA, when you break it apart, is arranged into two strands that have come together, right? It has a descending strand, right? And an ascending strand. Very similar to what? To the electrical energy from the sun and the magnetic energy of the earth, right? Now what happens is that these strands, they each have bases. And each base from the one strand, let's say from the descending strand, has a complement. It's perfect pair from the ascending strand, right? We call these the base pairs, okay? I forgot the names, but I know kono guanine, yeah. Like, listen, this is not, it's not science class, okay? uMakhulu just uses science to show you guys what it proves spirituality. So again, when you have let DNA, right, this one strand and it has a complement, okay, this shows you the electrical energy we get and the magnetic energy, they complement one another, they cross over. Okay, this is the crossover, right, which is very important. And so again, these bases coming together, right, it shows you they match according to any frequency. And so as much as they match in terms of frequency, they are different though. They are different. One is ascending, one is descending, you know. One is, I think it's adenine. The other is, I don't know what the T1 is. But I know it's guanine, and I think G matches with the C. I don't know if it's a cytosine or whatever it is, right? Different, but they complement one another, okay, because they resonate with regards to any frequency. Okay, this is very important. So, as this electromotive force occupies a particular frequency, it then condenses into DNA strands 8, which is still very remnant of the main energy. So, condensation, it keeps the blueprint, guys. Okay, as the energy condenses, it still keeps the blueprint. Okay, so then it condenses into our DNA. And then i-DNA yethu also now condenses as it occupies a different frequency. It now condenses into our chakra system. This chakra system, ama-energy centers ethu-ke manje, right? That mimic exactly the bands of light. Because remember, lama bands of light are still within this interaction. Okay, it's all within the visible spectrum. And manje, these different bands of light that our DNA is now condensing into are very important. Very important. When now your energy centers are formed, each energy center, according to its frequency, its hue, right? It then condenses, I want to say precipitates for some reason. It then condenses into the physical body. Okay. And at that particular energy center, right, a particular set of organs will form that are aligned with the frequency of that energy center. Okay, so you cannot get your liver engqondweni. You cannot get your heart in your throat. No. Okay? All these organs form according to the different frequencies, right, of your energy centers, and they are the perfect organs that resonate with that particular frequency. And lo and behold, here you come. You are now a human being fully formed in your mother's womb. Okay, so it is very, very important, guys, to understand this. Okay, once again, you have now physically formed, right? There needs to be a representation of what? Of the movement of life force with physical body yakho. How is that interpreted? By the physical manifestation of your body. It's interpreted as a heartbeat. What does inhliziyo do? The heart moves nutrient-rich blood to all the different parts of the body so that the body functions in homeostasis. Okay. So, okay, guys, once umuntu in the womb has a heartbeat, once you go to the doctor, kuthiwa, oh, we have a heartbeat. That is a fully fledged human being. They are only now going to grow and go through a process of maturation of the organs and the physical structure that they already possess. Okay, that is for those of you who take having an abortion lightly. It is not light. You are destroying a human being that has gone through that entire process of manifesting into the physical reality. So once there is a heartbeat, there is a human being. Regardless of what the law says, we are here to teach you as a spiritual being. The things that you subject yourselves to, later on in life. Ngobani? Ngoba you destroyed a human being. You did what? You tried to cut a live wire. What happens when you try to cut a live wire? You get shocked. You get injured. Okay. So Makhulu wanted to clarify that. An abortion of umntwana osene heartbeat will have consequences. Just like trying to cut a live wire, there will be consequences. Okay. You will receive a spiritual injury. All right. So again now, here you are a human being, you've manifested. Let's say again now, your birth mother has gone through the whole process of pregnancy and giving birth to you. And now here you are, a fully fledged human being that consists of a DNA that has been passed down to you by those people who came before you. Because remember, Uguti, this light keeps a record of everything. And when we now engage in sexual intercourse, right? You bringing your strand, I'm bringing my strand. Just like the sun brings its electrical energy and the earth brings its magnetic energy. Okay, and so this also now breeds the whole concept of yin and yang, where we say ukuthi males are usually yang energy and females are yin energy. The union of the two breeds life. This electromotive energy, this life force. So the union of this male and this female coming together breeds life. The union of this strand of DNA and this strand of DNA breeds life. Okay, that's why the man will bring 23 chromosomes, the women will bring 23, and in total, kubo ubani, so 46, if I'm not mistaken. I hope it's 23 and 46. But once again, I'll put the corrections in here if it's not. Okay, so this crossing over of electrical and magnetic energy translates in every single aspect of our lives as human beings. And it is always creative. So when, as a human being, you are always powerful enough to create. Always. You can create the exact reality that you wish to see. But it's not a quick fix. Inkinga yethu sithanda umlingo, we like magic. Because it's funny quick fix. Magic is a facade. Right? It's an illusion. So we'd rather believe the illusion because it brings us a sense of comfort, but it's not real. The real thing is you. The human being, the light being. So now here you come, and you've got this electromotive force that is intrinsic within you through which you are created. Right? And you have these energy centers. So now you can imagine you are just a force field. You are a force field. Right? And so this force field that you are, this energy field that you are, through which you have now come to be, is the force field that you carry throughout your life journey. You cannot run away from the light because you are the light. You can only dim your light. So this field, this energetic field, right, that we all exude, is what in spirituality we call your Macaba, your star. You are a star. We all are stars on this plane of existence because we are humans. We are light beings. Your job is to make sure that you are a star that shines bright. Because when a star doesn't shine bright, if you look at the sky, the stars that don't shine bright, you can't see them. They become almost invisible. So, Gogo, how do I make sure Uti my star shines bright? You need to now use the resources that this God energy has provided for us in abundance. We've got the plant kingdom. We've got the animal kingdom. We've got all different elements. We've got earth. We've got water. We've got fire. We've got air. You use those elements to polish your star, to clean, do a bit of sweeping, to cleanse, to protect, set boundaries. And we use those elements as well to make sure that what we create is exactly that which we desire. So it's very important to keep your Macaba clean, high vibrational. Okay, How far does my Macaba extend, Gogo? As far as the tips of your fingers. Okay? As far as the tips of your fingers. That's your Macaba. So, peep this. How many times in a day do you have people that are within this range? At work, at home, in the shops, out in public. So you interact with so many different Macabas. And when now we look at the fact that we are light beings, right? And light exists in frequency, and a system will always try, this is a scientific law, a system will always try to occupy its lowest energy state. I don't know if it's Newton's laws, but yeah, I remember we learned this law in high school, physics. A system will always try to occupy its lowest energy state. So the resultant energy of interacting with a low energy state is always going to be the low energy state. That's why, again, we say low vibrational people will pull you down, will drag you down. Set boundaries. Keep your Macaba away from my Macaba. There is nothing I hate more than being physically touched. Ooh, don't touch me. And people think I'm rude for that. I'm not rude, even though I didn't understand the whole concept of Macaba. But I read somewhere when I was young, Uguti, when people come into a particular distance in reference to your physical body, they are invading your privacy. I think that type of privacy and invasion something on Google, and it said, Uguti, there's a particular distance that is considered a non-invasion of privacy situation, but once they breach that distance, that person is now in your vicinity and it's an invasion of privacy. So after I read that, I was in high school, I was in high school, and I was at the media center. Now I don't know why I was typing this, but I just felt like, oh my gosh, I struggled, to the point where my dad won't keep an asimotenia stuff, because it's like, I think also ne OCD ayisiqala ukukicka in ngempela ke lapho it was getting a little bit more intense, because I used to just obsess ngezinto ezingathi shu, but I didn't like being touched. I didn't like being in close vicinity nabantu, because I felt like, you're invading my privacy. That changed. Once bangifakele iqhitho, my boundaries avela ngiyamalala nje, angiyamalala. Abathakathi bayaganga. Sizonisotha. Ngale podcast sizonikhombisa ukuthi asizo lezi iduphung that you think we are. Sizonikhombisa. So basically, your Macaba is very important. If you interact with a low vibrational Macaba, which means ukuthi hue yakhona is dull. It's dull, guys. That's why you guys healers, we say unefeli mnyama, because we're looking at this hue. It's not bright, it's dull. There's something wrong. Now we're going to look at our energy centers through which you give and receive light energy. Right? Uguti, is there a blockage somewhere that is now resulting in this dull aura? That is resulting in this dull Macaba. Right? So, when you interact with a low vibrational dull Macaba and yours is brighter, eyakho izogcina dull kunokuthi eyalo dull ibe brighter, because the system will always try to occupy its lowest energy state. So wena lama electrons akha bright, they will flow to low who's missing electrons. Dull imakaba yakhe, aura yakhe. And so they benefit. In fact, their light becomes a little bit more intense. Kancane, but not for long, because there's a blockage. And then what results when You're missing electrons. You're missing light. You're dull. Right? You're duller than before. Think of a shiny surface when it becomes tarnished. It becomes tarnished because it is exposed to frequencies that take the luster and shine away from it. So it's very important to be discerning and to be finicky, for lack of a better word, to be finicky about the people that you allow into your space. Not every person who calls you mngani friend is a friend. Just because they call you friend doesn't mean they are high vibrational. Yes, ngibize a friend from there. From there. Are you friend ovakasha njalo? Ning ufriend usekwakho njalo. Ufunani? Ufunani la? Yilelo kimdonsa la. It's your Macaba. Your Macaba is bright. And they're getting fed and they like it. And that's where now the whole concept of energy vampires come in. A vampire, it sucks blood, life, nutrient-giving blood. So again, energy vampire is osaka ini, your life force, your energy, your life energy. Gobani, you've introduced them into your space. You're not setting strong boundaries. As a human being, kunzima ukuba a human. I don't want you guys to take it lightly. It's tough being a human. It's tough. Because you have to constantly consider ukuthi i-energy yakho mayingabi negatively affected. Because once that happens, you best believe ukuthi your physical environment is going to mimic this lowered energy state, this lowered frequency. Angithi phela it has to condense, the energy needs to condense. So okay, you introduce all kinds of wrong energies that lower your frequency, and then now you start manifesting through resonance low frequency life experiences. Bese uyamangala, what's going on? What's wrong? Ngiyathakathwa. Uyazithakatha by not setting strong boundaries. Not everybody must have access to you as a human being. Not everybody must have access to you. Same goes for your ancestors and guides. Not all your ancestors and guides are high vibrational. Not all of them must have access to you. Mina mangiphahla, I make it very clear ukuthi I call on my ancestors and guides on father's side, on mother's side, who are high vibrational. If you are not high vibrational, do not come. I have no business interacting with you. It's tough being a human being because you have to constantly consider ukuthi I cannot let certain situations lower my frequency. You constantly have to be mindful of that. So now let's look at the moon. Because the moon is what teaches us about our guides and ancestors. So the moon, right? Firstly, it is closer to the sun. Right? So it is receiving an intense amount of light energy compared to us, Tina la emhlabeni on earth. Okay. What I love about the moon, absolutely beautiful, is that it receives this light and intensity from the sun, usually when we on earth are not receiving this light and intensity from the sun. So Nini, at night, when it's dark, the moon takes the energy from the sun and it illuminates the earth for us. During our moment of darkness, whilst we are waiting for dawn. And this is why life exists in complements. Okay. You cannot just have energy being given the whole time. Okay, there needs to be a balance of give and take, give and receive, right? Because if the sun were to just give energy the whole time and there was nothing, right, to give energy back, then we would find ourselves in a positive feedback system. And again, a positive feedback system is not a good thing, right? Because it basically translates to ukuthi too much of a good thing is bad. So there needs to be a regulating party or a regulating system, a negative feedback system, which helps to keep the balance, the homeostasis. Okay. So, okay, as much as the sun will give this abundance of energy, the gravitational pull of the moon on the Earth's surface is going to help release some of that energy so that a perfect, balanced environment, homeostatic environment is maintained. Guys, I'm not wearing my glasses, so angizazi noma ngibuka lens noma ngenzani, but anyways, homeostasis, balance. That's why life exists in complements, because there needs to be balance. Okay, so okay, the moon will always pull on the Earth's surface. Sithanda singathandi. But remember, we are energy beings, we are light beings, right? We are of all these different hues, and so we can be intentional. We can be intentional with regards to what we want to release. Okay. Ukuba intentional, guys, is as simple as boogie computer. Computer, you've got your keyboard, or laptop, you've got your keyboard, right? Because it got tough. I ran out of space filming. So again, when you type what you want in the computer and it doesn't give you the output le oyifakile when as input, uzothi phukile, right? So the setting intention is like that. We get to customize the output that we want to see. So we get to customize the lives that we want to live by being intentional about the energies that we release during our full moon release rituals. Okay. So now we have our chakras. Our chakras etu enzani. They give us the tools to help us manifest the realities that we wish to experience, that we wish to see. You are constantly manifesting, guys, okay, through your chakras. So, okay, when you are mindful of the energies that you are manifesting, when you set strong boundaries because you don't want low vibrational Macabas in the vicinity of your high vibrational Macaba, right? We then are able to customize our life experience ukuthi ibe ilento le that we desire, that we can enjoy. All right? So, your heart chakra is very important. And uMakhulu, she's bringing me back to us receiving this electrical energy from the sun and the earth sending out its magnetic energy, right, to create this electromotive force, right? There is a sound that is made by the giving of light energy by the sun. And then the receiving of the earth, right? Receiving this energy is almost like silent. It's a passive action. So you've got a right? And remember, the energy, as the frequencies shift, the energy is going to condense and condense and condense and eventually manifest as you, a physical being. Okay? So, okay, that give and receive, that sound then becomes audible. Where is it audible? Or audible the most? Your heart chakra, your heartbeat. Right? It's called, I think it's systolic and diastolic pressure, right? Systolic is where the heart pumps blood to all parts of the body. Diastolic is when it now receives this blood, Okay. So there's a give and receive, and there's a rhythm to this give and receive, and it is the rhythm of the universe. Your heartbeat is the very rhythm of the universe. That's how connected to this universe that we are, guys. Your heart chakra is where now the desire comes. Okay. And so this desire, the heart, now needs to take this desire to all your different chakras. So that Wongama chakras abe ne mandate ukuthi what do you need to do? Your crown chakra allows you to connect. I am connected with your deceased loved ones, right? With high vibrational beings from other spectrums. Because guys, it is unreasonable for us to believe ukuthi only us as human beings in the visible spectrum exist in the entire universe. No. There are beings in the other spectrums. We won't see them with our naked eye because they are not part of the visible spectrum. Okay, but they see us because the higher frequencies can easily access low frequencies, but a low frequency, very difficult to access a high frequency. That's why again, energy vampire will pull you down. They'll drain your energy. It's easy for your energy to flow to them than it is for their energy to match yours. Okay. So again, you've got your crown chakra, which allows you to connect and communicate with higher dimensional beings. It desire yako. Your third eye allows you to now envision. Your third eye allows you to see the things that you cannot see with your naked eye. Okay. It's your third eye. 1, 2, 3. Your throat chakra allows you to now communicate authentically the things you want. You've got your heart chakra, which desires. Your solar plexus allows you to now act upon this desire. Your sacral chakra then creates, and then root, you birth it, your root chakra. So again, your heart will desire. It will take that desire to your crown chakra to communicate it to high vibrational beings that you cannot see with the naked eye, your spirit guides, your ancestors, helpers in the other realms. It then allows you to envision it, what it looks like, what your life looks like, to daydream, right? Ngale desire. Communicate, it desire yako. Communication also allows collaboration and help from others, right? So it allows you to communicate. You've got your heart chakra, right? Which is where the desire is formed. And then from now communicating and getting support from the upper chakras, now comes your part. You need to act, right? You need to now go in pursuit of this desire, right? And through your actions, you create it. And once it's created, you can then birth it into your 3D reality. So can you see that even your chakra system is arranged in such a way where you have support? You've got your crown, you've got your third eye, you've got your throat, then you've got your heart, and then you've got your solar plexus, sacral, and root chakras. Your heart chakra is in the middle of all of these three on either side. Your top chakras are your supports. They communicate, right? So that you get the support that you need. When you now what? When you now act to create and birth your desire into your 3D reality. So guys, you don't just pray, light your candles and sit and think ukuthi manje things are going to manifest. No, you act. Okay? You pray upon action. That's how you manifest. That's how you see now things begin to materialize in your 3D reality. Okay. So you don't just pray, oh, thank you for showing me. Please just remove it. Please remove these curses from my life. No, you act. You use the elements of the earth that are provided to you in abundance. And you pray as you are acting. Okay, I'm cleansing. I expect the results to be this. Okay. You cannot pray curses away. You cannot pray hexes away. You need to act. Because the person or the people who sent them to you, they also acted. And remember, they have the power to create because they have their own Macabas. So you also have the power to create. Okay? And if you choose not to, then know that you will manifest the reality of your choice. The consequence of your choice is what you will manifest. Okay? So in all of this, your chakras are very important. But uMakhulu expressed ukuthi the most important chakras because they are very high vibrational, right? Is your third eye important? That's why you dream. Essentially, you're supposed to dream every night. Very active, very high vibrational. Your third eye. So you need to be diligent in making sure ukuthi it is devoid of blockages. It is clear, right? Your heart chakra, of course, it beats with the rhythm of the universe, and therefore you have a plethora of things you can desire and manifest into your physical reality. And then you have your sacral chakra. This is where now you create. Through action, yes, but you create. And that's a pivotal moment. Because once it's created, it has to be birthed. It has to be birthed. Okay. All right. I think let's end episode 2 there. Right? We are leaving you with the understanding of how and why you are human. You are human. And we're leaving you with the understanding of how important your very existence is, because there is so many pivotal, vital, significant, profound processes that went into your physical manifestation la emhlabeni. Okay. Well, I hope that you found this episode enlightening, and I will catch you guys in the third installment of the Healing Podcast with uGogo Mphemba. May your healing be absolute and profound. CAMAGU.